Hello and welcome to the show. Now, I was fortunate enough to be invited to a preview event where I get a chance to play through some of the early stages of Forza Horizon 4. I got to film about the first hour of gameplay, which was something I was very excited to have a go with. Starting with, well, kind of a bit of exploring. We're going to take a look at some of the map and a bit of exploring around in the various cars, as I only had access to a certain amount of time. The first thing I managed to end up, well, I was heading towards a checkpoint, or heading towards an event, and I might have got inadvertently distracted by a field of sheep, and I was curious as to what would happen if you could catch the sheep. Now, I will point out, the Dodge Charger is not the ideal sheep wrangling car. I mean, it is very noisy and it is very large. You could probably fit most of the sheep inside the Charger, but I was curious to know quite how they would react to the car and if you could kind of catch them. The answer is no. No, sheep are more agile than a Charger, so when it comes to dirt, I'm going to hazard a guess you can't catch them. But it was a fun game to try and find out, and they've kind of got a little bit of their sort of kind of herd. It's kind of fun to herd them around, basically, if you were so inclined. Anyway, yes, farting around with the Charger. I did also get to have a go with a Lancia 037. This was one of the cars. You get various with the Charger was the first car, one of the options. The first car you could get. Lancia was one of the first cars you could get for the off-road section. We'll talk about the career a little bit more. But I went to do some exploring with the 037. And now the first thing, I kind of dove off the road here because I thought I spotted something peculiar. Like, it's out the corner, you know when you're like, out the corner of your eye, you see something, like, there's something odd over there, let's go and investigate. And by the time I turned, I then couldn't find it. It's because I was farting around in first person view, I missed. It was a parked Fiat. That's what it was. There are like, sort of various parked, I guess they've gone fishing or just gone for a hike. And I figured, seeing as it wasn't particularly well parked, I'd have a bit of fun. And when they got back to their car, they don't actually have people that wander around. We're just making up a story here. They can find their Fiat parked in the middle of a lake. Well, it's a very shallow lake. Very, very shallow lake. But it will do. It will do. Anyway. Yeah, that was just me. I mean, the start of this video is basically me just finding, oh, here's the thing, what can we do? You can actually push around AI, certainly stationary AI cars, you can push them around a little bit more, which potentially gives me ideas for challenges and silly things to do. As far as a map to explore, well, you are just about free to go everywhere your car is capable of. Through trees? No, you can't go through trees, and there are some pretty damn impressive hills around the area as we come into one of the small towns. As far as a map goes visually, yeah, it's pretty damn impressive. I will say, for any non-English people playing this that think England looks very pretty, there are little bits. It doesn't tend to look quite this quaint. There are some very pretty little English towns, Scottish towns around here, and yeah, this is not a typical. It's like a stereotypical, perhaps, English town. Either way, there's some very, very pretty areas. There are some very pretty areas indeed, and you can kind of see from the little mini map. I was heading off into the distance to go explore some further places, but yeah, you can certainly see the technicality of the roads. Also wandering around and find what I suspect will be a super jump. I also just noticed as I was driving down there was a house on top of the hill, so kind of on the left of us now, behind where the car would be. I wonder what that might be. If I'd spotted it earlier, I would have gone and explored. So yeah, I mean, you can see visually, yeah, it's going to be a damn impressive game, and it is some seriously interesting scenery. Of course, the concern with going to England. England perhaps does not have the most spectacular scenery in the world, but I will say they've done a damn good job of getting a very, very interesting, exciting looking map while still feeling very British. Of course, for people outside of England, you know, you might not quite get that same sense, but it's fun driving around roads with signs that you recognise. I guess the Americans, you will see it a lot more in games, but yeah, for us in England, you don't actually see this very often whatsoever. I know other countries even less. Now, as I was kind of running up the outside of the map, I was kind of curious to see what happened if I tried, funnily enough, to go off the map, because naturally that's the first thing that comes to mind. What happens if we go try and climb a giant hill? I'll be honest, Lancia perhaps not the greatest vehicle, an excellent rally car, but isn't exactly a hill climb car, and there is, funnily enough, a wall around, so you can't get over that, although just about everything else is destructible. there is, I've came across very, very little. There are a couple of sort of solid like bridge stuff and so on, but most things you will be able to drive through. Even like the sort of cobblestone walls, yeah, you'll be able to punch through all of them. They'll lose you a little bit of speed, sure, but yeah, you can punch through just about everything. So fairly bloody open when it comes to exploring around in the middle bit. Anyway, yeah, I was running around the outside of the map, and there are still big fast roads. One of the things that I wouldn't say dislike, but one of the things I would like to have seen more of in Horizon games, and in open world games in general, to be fair, are more technical roads. It loves to be big, fast, open roads to make the most of the supercars and the hypercars and run at 200 miles an hour. There are still those roads. Was hoping to find more of the technical areas. On my drive, I was curious, I saw this squiggle of roads on the map. I wondered what on earth was going to be up here. Thought we'd come and investigate a little bit. The answer was it the Mortimer Gardens, I believe, was the name. Basically, this is going to be an area for some playground games. Also, ignore me going a bit too overzealous with sideways. Yeah, this, I mean, is prime candidate for being an area to do a game of tag, to do a game of infected, etc. Certainly would be an interesting one as well. You will notice there's a fair bit of water around the place. Again, it is England, but there does seem to be, like, quite a few of the areas do seem to have various water. I personally don't know what this landmark is like. I presume there is plenty of water around it, etc. In reality, there are certainly plenty of rivers and lakes, or sort of little lakes and so on around the place to make the most of the, or potentially to make the most of the changing seasons. I didn't get a chance to play around with the winter version, so I don't know what it'll be like when it gets to winter. But the idea of having, you know, these areas suddenly frozen over could be quite, actually it's quite a sizable lake going in that direction, and you can just go and drive. Actually, that might go into the main, sort of like that big lake on the map, I would assume anyway. So yeah, certainly the snow and whatnot will, well, the snow, the ice will have a bit of an effect on the world that you drive around, and it does like having some plenty of water, because it was messing around a little bit with us. I was trying to go back to find the tunnel. I couldn't remember where I'd gone. Sort of looking at an area like this, my hope is to see either races that will actually make use of a lot of these technical twisty bits. An AI car found its way onto here. I wasn't expecting to find them in this part, but yeah, hoping to make the most of it, or to be able to use the course creator to actually make the most of these sort of areas. There's lots of technical roads that you could have a lot of fun playing around with. You could have a lot of fun making races, making routes for, and that is just one of the areas. It's just, you know, one of the areas. It'll be great fun for, you know, the playground games, like seeing the tunnel. You've got the tunnel you can hide in while you're playing tag or while you're playing infected. You could, I guess theoretically, you know, car selection wise, if you're playing it and it isn't winter, you know, make something that's good to deal with the water, make something that's good at driving through the water, so that you can kind of use that to your advantage. Again, depending on where the arena is, and again, different seasons you might have. Again, I only played a very, very brief bit, but you know, when it starts getting to the, I think, is it the autumn where it gets rainy, you'll kind of have perhaps muddier gravel, maybe, again, you know, you want your wheel drive cars, etc. for that sort of thing. Either way, it looks interesting, certainly, that area that I tried. Now, as we come up here again, we've got a big ford across. That's a. If I was driving through Scotland, I don't want to be taking my Lakeland through that. It's certainly not that speed. I don't want to be driving through that anyway. Again, we've got more rivers, and all of this I can go off exploring. I can jump off the road at any time. I was wanting to get to various points to have a look, but I can go and tackle the hill. I probably won't work in the Lancia, but I can go and drive around. I can drive through the river if I so wish. What I was coming over here to have a look at was some of these smaller roads, because, as I said, there are plenty of, you know, faster roads. Okay, they wind, they twist, they turn a little bit, but they're more designed to exploit the supercars, exploit the hypercars, etc. And I saw these little roads on the map. I wanted to go have a little look around them and see what they were like. Turns out, I was expecting this one here to be a dirt road, with it being a dashed line. When I'm looking around, I'm wondering if some of these roads go to houses that you'll be able to acquire throughout the game. Certainly an interesting road, and you can see it's actually looping over the other side. The fact that it's alongside a train line suggests to me you'll probably be racing the Flying Scotsman along that bit. The the road does go almost parallel to along the I think maybe it's not train line, maybe it's a viaduct, so then there wouldn't be I don't know. Either way, it looks like a prime opportunity to race race something that going along the bridge. Maybe a boat of... who knows? A bit of a scroll around the map, trying to decide what bit of road I wanted to go and take a look at next. Figuring, well, the twisty wiggly bit that looked like an awful lot of fun. I was hoping that was going to be the kind of road, the sort of scenery that I was going to be going for. I'd smashed my window, hence why I'm using third person. Normally I would be racing in first person view, but having managed to crack the window on a tree earlier on, I figured, you know what, we'll go for third person. Also, you can kind of show off the scenery a little bit better in all of this. Now, the road that I actually stumbled across, I was hoping it was going to be a tarmac road. Dirt road's certainly not a bad thing. I mean, this makes for a perfect sort of rally stage. Now, there was sort of one exquisite rally road in Horizon 3, and this is on a, quick cursory glance. I mean, this was the rally road that I came across, and it is, your almost perfect sort of rally road. It's technical, it's difficult, it goes up and down over this hill, so whichever way you challenge it, whichever way you tackle it, it's going to be a tough route. Of course, the Lancia, an ideal car for doing a spot of rallying. It's actually a pretty decent length road as well. In previous Horizon games, when you did have what would essentially be a point-to-point rally stage, let's face it, they tended to be on the fairly short side. But this one, without having to use any tarmac to join bits of dirt together, etc., this one I just happened to stumble across is fantastic. I mean, you've got admittedly, when we're climbing up this way, you don't got to worry too much about falling straight over the edge, but you've got that huge drop along the side. You've not got massive jumps along here. Again, maybe a faster car, different, maybe travelling in a different direction, etc. You would find different things, and that's us over the top of the hill, and then we find ourselves running back down the other side. A little bit more straightforward this side, although some ways then a little bit scarier. It's kind of a lot more vertical down in all of this. Again, still pretty stunning scenery. I will say, it was just about sunrise. When I was doing this kind of exploring, I hadn't realised that this was kind of in between events, and rather than going off to do an event, I just sort of set about going exploring. It locked the time at this sort of dawn, so it's, yeah, I wish it had been sort of bright sunlight, bright daylight, to be able to make the most of some of the visuals. But there we go, and I go for a big spin at the bottom because I'm a muppet. Once more, we already knew that, and then we go across a river for good luck, and then we're out of that road. Brilliant road. Absolutely fantastic little road. We then set off towards Edinburgh. I wanted to go have an explore around the city. You'll also notice that quite a lot of these roads are not massively wide, which should help with the kind of challenge for, making the most of a handling car, essentially. This was another area. I saw like there was this little jink of dirt road, and I wondered where on earth it led to. Not expecting to find anything, and well, I found what I presume will be another arena, another area for playground games. Yes, an entirely abandoned train yard. Pretty cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the... God, what was it? One of the dirt games that had the... God, I don't remember which one it was now. One of the dirt games that had, I think it was a Battersea Power Station, where you could kind of sort of gymkhana, drift around and whatnot. This kind of place, a little bit reminiscent of that. It's a massive area as well. As I go slow, I was really expecting just to find nothing of any value up here. I was not expecting to find too much, but this is a huge area. Lots of buildings, lots of sort of train carriages, there's containers and so on. Most of the buildings you can drive in and around with various... Thankfully it's all sort of designed slightly with cars in mind. There's not too many platforms you can get stuck on. There's not too many bits and pieces that will catch. Like maybe being a Muppet, of course, but there's plenty of ramps to climb your car up and around as we continue to explore. Things like the glass and whatnot is destructible, and as I said, most things are pretty destructible on this. There are some that are very much not, but there's plenty of destructible scenery. There is also the ability, if you like, to climb up onto the second floor of the main building. Again, if you like doing your gymkhana, you like doing your stunt driving, precision driving, etc., well, this is probably going to be an area you're going to see used a lot. it's an interesting area. It is an interesting area. Sort of exploring, and we've also kind of gone for the perfect time, sort of slightly murky, slightly dark, to explore around it. Oh, there's an edge. I managed to find something to bump into. Yeah, fun little bit. I'm going to guess that big ramp in the middle is going to be another one of the stunt jumps. I was curious about destroying some more stuff. Anyway, to the main city. I left the train yard. This is actually not a particularly long drive between Edinburgh and that little abandoned train area. It's a pretty damn impressive city. I'm going to say it is a pretty damn impressive city. While I don't know how to scale it compares to some of the ones from Horizon 3. What Edinburgh feels is a lot more claustrophobic, and that's a good thing actually. It's a good thing that it feels a little bit more sort of tightly confined, a little bit more crowded. There's, again, you can see on the mini-map, I couldn't go down and explore down every single road, but there is a lot of roads around this area, which gives me hope for a lot of very technical, whether they're made initially or whether we will make them ourselves with course graders, etc., for potential for a lot of technical courses, a lot of technical roads. And again, it is pretty damn stunning. It's bloody good looking game as you drive around it. In places it is still very wide. I say very wide. In places it is still, yeah, pretty damn wide for the old supercars. Down here, maybe not quite so much, although like the footpaths are pretty ginormous in some of these bits to let you get away. Now, I was trying to explore my way up towards Edinburgh Castle. I wanted to go have a bit of a look around there. I wasn't really sure on the best way to get going towards it, managing to get myself a little bit lost. Again, this is just a bit of an explore because we can. Don't really know what it'll be used for down here. Don't really know what this area might end up being used for. I've come out completely the wrong way, not wanting to be over there. There is a train line. I don't know whether, I presume there will be trains that will go around these areas. I did not see any trains. Yeah, but there are some trains over at the far corner, but they aren't going anywhere. Eventually, I managed to get myself free anyway after faffing around on the train lines for a little bit of a time, and then we head up towards the Edinburgh Castle again. You know, while there are these more technical roads, and I very much hope that the races will make the most of them. Just trying to figure out which was the best way through all of this, try to avoid some of the traffic, and there we go. We've got ourselves to the castle. You can't go into it, you can't explore around it, but you can, if you so wish, do some donuts out the front of it. And naturally, that is what I decided to go and do. Yeah, the city is pretty damn impressive. It is. There feels like there is a lot going on. There feels like there is an awful lot going on. Certainly when you're racing through at breakneck speed, as I am in this instance. It's kind of what I wanted, what I hoped for in terms of in this case, a Scottish city. Yeah, there are still some fairly wide open bits, but it gives me hope for plenty of technicality. It gives me hope for plenty of interesting areas to drive around. This is a look at some of the Horizon 4 map. I hope you enjoyed this footage. And then there's all of this over here as well. There's a mine and so on to explore as well. It's looking bloody good. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.